Mr. Paradise, Picking Paradise. This is episode 6 of the Lockpicking Belt Ride Along series. And we've got a lot to get over today, so pay attention and let's get through it. So we're going to be picking the Master LOTO 410 for the green belt. We're at an orange belt now. That ABES 5550 had a lot of good stuff to learn because it was teaching us the serration and how it got caught on the serration and then got caught on another serration, and then it went into a nice deep fall set once it was in the set state. So what I'm going to suggest, if you have a lock that you know kind of does that and you get lucky enough to have one, then purposely overset that lock or that pin so that way you know what an overset feels like, because you're going to need to know what overset pins feel like when you get to the LOTOs. So I'm just holding up the easier keyway and the paracentric keyway. I feel like a lot of people have the paracentric keyway. So the only difference is don't attack this with a 25 thousandths like Lockpicking Lawyer says he does. You can, and that's kind of what I do as well, but I'm an 18 thousandths guy. I really like the thinner picks. That's what I use. I think it allows you to have a little bit more a little bit more clearance and not get caught up on the warding. So you can't attack it straight up and down. You got to pick off of over here. And what happens a lot of times is you will get caught on a little ledge over here. You'll get caught on that ledge right there when you're deep in the lock and you don't know it. So what I suggest you do is not try to pivot down off of this point, but actually pivot with your finger and try to pivot off of this little bit over here, and then rotate the pick a little bit while you're inside there. So that's the way to approach the LOTO with a paracentric. Okay, enough about that. We do have the 1100 in frame, so if we've got enough time, I'm going to show you how to gut this without any special tools. All you're going to need is a Phillips head screwdriver and some tweezers. So anyway, we're going to try to get this and give you guys some good tips on how to pick them. So if you've been paying attention to any other of my past videos or anyone else, we all know that the fifth pin in these are the gatekeeper. It's the slightly serrated standard pin in these, and once that's picked, you're going to get you a nice false set. Now, this is a dead core lock, meaning there's no spring tension, and you'll actually have to drive it backwards yourself, or with the pick pressure, you're going to have to drive it back. So I'm using 50 thousandths pry bar, and I'm using a 25 thousandths 5 hook. So we're going to go in, and since I already know that's what I'm kind of looking for is that fifth pin, I'll just very quickly go down the pin stack in the front and look for any other binders, but I'm already poking in the back. I know that's where I need to be. Now, just because we know that fifth pin is the standard pin, it doesn't mean that some of the bottoms of those spools are not going to be caught first and need to be cleared out of the way before that fifth pin is going to be set. Okay, so there, I set the fifth pin. We saw it click over into a false set. So hopefully we can see this and we get it all there. I don't know if that helps the light or not, but we'll see how that goes for a minute. Oh, barely touched pin 1 as I was pulling my pick back out to explain, and it fell into a deep fall set. So that's very indicative that the fat part of the spool, the bottom there, or the top, was caught. I believe this one is actually the top of that spool pin is a little bit fatter, and the bottom. So it was caught, and then it fell into a deep fall set. So now what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to apply some pick pressure to the key pin, the red piece in the photo there, and push it up into about this state. Once it gets to this state, that core is going to have rotated backwards just enough, and I'm going to kind of have to sense that a little bit. And then once it's to that spot, I do not want to release my tension anymore. I want to go ahead and set that pin. So let's get back on it and see what we can see. Yep, right there, I'm on it. we can see as I poke it, barely pushing up, pivoting up, it's rotating backwards. And let's see how far she'll go. Now I use really light tension, and then I start holding, and then I start increasing my tension, because about right now, see, there's where I was. About right now, I'm like, it's rotated far enough. Let's hold my tension steady so I don't lose it. And I don't want heavy pick pressure on these either. There we go, I felt it. And there, I barely kind of massaged her in there. So you don't want heavy pick pressure on these. To have light pick pressure is better. It's going to make your picks last longer, and you're going to feel that little nuanced cymbal in there. So what I did was I was picked up, and I felt it, and then I felt it kind of go over that little ledge, and then I held it. But it's held up on the bottom part of that spool. So I needed to tap it barely just again, and that's where it fell over again. So now I'm just going to go through and kind of poke and prod each one of these to see which ones feel set. And I'm actually feeling for that loose key pin, but more than that, I'm feeling for like a stiff with no, like if it's stiff, and I do this on the 1100 as well, if it's stiff and it's not like making my tension finger bounce at all, that's a set pin, man. I barely touched something and it fell over. I think it was 4. Maybe not. Okay, so now I'm on the back pin, pin 6. Pin 6 was actually caught on the top part of the spool. Now it's on the middle part of the spool. When I barely touched it, it fell into a false set because it was on the top part of the spool and then it fell. Now I'm going to push it up. And I got an open. There you go. So we're going to be careful not to turn these any more than enough to get the shackle open. Once the shackle's open, we close it and we turn it back immediately. Otherwise, it turns into a nice little baby rattle. And we don't want to be part of that club now, do we? Okay, so I think I did a pretty good job of explaining that, but since we've got just a little bit of time, and I feel like we can explain a little bit more because the picking is very, very key in this state of our picking, is ignore the mushroom, because right now I don't think any of our locks that we're doing have mushroom pins. They are a little bit more difficult than the spool pins, but not bad. So the spool pin on that last one on pin 6, the top part was kind of fat, and the top part was what was holding the core and everything in there. I'm thinking. I'm not really sure, but I think so. I barely touched it and it went into a really nice deep false set. Then I pushed it up and it went into this state, and then it finally clicked over, but I needed to tap it just a little bit more. And I was actually making sure that my pick wasn't here. I don't like my pick to be here. I really like my pick to be like right there on the very, very tip, as close as I can, because that allows me the most feedback. And then it got caught on the bottom part of the spool, and then this was loose. And I was like, okay. And then I just tapped it just a little bit more, and then she went up in here, this rotated, I got an open. So let's just see again one more time. See if we can't duplicate some of that. We're gonna go right to the back, and we're gonna look for that 5th pin. Right to the back. We're kind of getting long on the video length. Oh, there we go, that was a set. Now we'll come up and we'll touch 1. And it went to that false set, and now we're gonna go ahead and tap her up again. See all that counter rotation? And then I'm gonna hold steady, release on both. I'm gonna hold release on my pick pressure a little bit, but hold steady on my tension. And there you go, she went all the way. Go down this pin stack. Found another spool there. I don't know how that was picked first time and not this time. Here we go. Rotating. No open. I'm on that back one now. Here we go. And an open. Okay, so you got to let it rotate backwards, and then you've got to lighten up. And once you lighten up, then feather it in the rest of the way. Okay, so we have an American 1100, and now we need to gut them, okay? So that right there was good enough for a green belt picking, but now we need to show that we actually know how to disassemble a lock. So we've got a keyed lock. There it is, it's open. Let's go ahead and use a screwdriver. If I don't know, you can't see in there, there's other better videos of it, but there's just a little Phillips head down there. Stick your Phillips head in there. Let's get this mat out. This is a nice mat, let's use it. Okay, we'll put that up there, we'll put the key over here. Now that we got that out, well, I went a little, never go in all ta-ta. Okay, it's never a good idea. You don't go in all ta-ta. So that screwdriver, that little screw was just holding this guy in, okay? So that was what the bottom of the lock is. There you go, you undo that screw. Now this comes out. That's where the screw went in. We'll put that up there. That just holds everything in there. We'll put that up there as well. Now this slides out. Now if you pay attention down in there, and you can look into this later, that half moon right there and that little quarter moon in there, that's what the actuator is, and that's what actually makes it open and close. I suggest you close the shackle a couple times, kind of understand that concept. It's just good knowledge. We'll put the body over here. Now we can put the key in now, or we can remove the C-clip. So all the pins are up there, and it's in an unpicked state. And so if I remove the C-clip, the core is not going to come flying out. So no special tools. Let's just use our fingernails. It's a little tough to do with your fingernails, but it totally can be done. If you got delicate nails and you can't get it, there it goes. Now you see that C-clip is off to the side there. Okay, put the C-clip right up there. You can always use your tweezers if your nails aren't tough and that's too difficult, but that can be done. Now if we stick the key in, that core is going to move, okay? So key's going to go in, and we're going to hold it just like this, so that way the core is falling into this, into the core. And then we're going to turn it this way. Okay, now once we have it this way, we're going to actually want to cup and hold the core so we can remove. Ooh, very, very, very important. I almost made a big mistake. We want the Bible sticking down right now, because if I would have left this sticking down, all those pins would have just dropped, okay? It wouldn't have been the end of the world, but it would not have been good. So we just hold here so the core does not come out, okay? And then we can just use the key if we want to kind of poke those pins back down through there, rattle it a little bit. And the 1100s are quite unique. I'm just going to use these to kind of pop these down. That the pins the driver pins that live down here, and the springs are just the right length, so you can actually just remove it. No follower needed. Remove it. Now you got your core with your pins. Set them right over there. And you see all those are right in there. Now it just takes practice of going in there and pulling those out and pulling the springs out and then putting them back in. So a little bit more challenging putting them back in, but it just takes practice. If you do have a follower, it really helps. I'm gonna get a follower so we can see. I like to use that channel in the back. Oh, that's the wrong one. I gotta get the purple one. I like to use that channel. Oh, it even matches my Peterson picks. Nice. I like to use that channel and go in, and then I can use that channel to drop my pins in there. I drop my pins right in here. I use this. I drop my pins right in here. I use that to kind of guide them in the holes. But with the 1100, and I'm actually message the mods and see if this, just doing that, taking that apart and putting it back together, is good enough for the green belt requirement. But I wouldn't chance it, you know. Go ahead, you need the experience. Take these pins out, splay them out all over the place, and stick them back in there. And when we do submit for the green belt and we're gutting this and putting it back together, just give good timestamps. You know, in your message to the mod, say, hey, picked at 4 minutes 10 seconds or 8 minutes 49 seconds, and gutted here at 10 minutes, and pins inserted back in at this. The more of that you give them, it gives them a guideline so they can kind of just go through and quickly kind of figure that stuff out. So if you watch now, we're just going to use this with no follower. We're going to hide that right back in. She's back in there, no problem. And now all we have to do now, oh, okay, so that's a good, oh, did I not see that on camera? I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so the core's out. We're gonna put it back in. I'm never taking them out, but you guys get the point. So now we can't rotate that. And there's a reason for that. That's because those driver pins are living up in the, just gotta get this pick. I want a straighter pick. Those driver pins are kind of living up in this area right here, and it's preventing me. So just stick a straight pick in there and push those down just enough so well, this could go a lot smoother. You just have to push them down. There it goes. Enough to get them out of the way so it rotates, okay? Once you've rotated it, come back to that state. Now you're all locked up in this core. And bang it around, do whatever you want to with it. Nothing's gonna happen. Put the C-clip back on. And then drop it back into the lock. Put this guy back in here. And your screw back in. I'm gonna try to make a couple more videos on it throughout the week, because I know this is a good time for everybody. But there you go. And it's a hard time maybe, but boom. We've disassembled that lock. We put it back together. We've picked a 410, not once, but twice. And I do appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate the comments and the support. I hope that I'm helping somebody. Hey, new pickers out there, if you're following this thing and you got some questions, I'd really appreciate you guys chiming in and commenting and asking questions. This is strictly for you guys. It's not for me. I could care less if I'm doing these videos. It is for the new pickers to help the community out, and I do appreciate it. So comment, ask questions, and have a good day. Aloha.